What is going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be doing an itemization guide. This is mainly meant for beginner players, so hopefully you guys do enjoy. If you do, a like would be much appreciated, and leave a comment if this helped you out. One of the first tips I'm going to tell you guys is to analyze who your enemy is and what is their type of damage so you can start itemizing correctly. So in this game, I wanted to pick a replay that wasn't a stomp either for the enemies or for me. This was a very tough game where I wasn't really playing very well. I wasn't able to get my rotations done properly. I wasn't able to get those early flesh heaps going as much as I wanted to. So the best thing to do is, since Kunkka is a physical damage dealer, you look at their spells and you see what type of damage it is. If he's physical damage, I need to build up on armor. On a hero like Pudge that doesn't have a lot of armor going for him, the main play was to start off with a ring of protection and transition into the phase boots. And that was going to help me sustain in lane, and then I ended up going back for a bottle. Don't be afraid to buy regen because you're going to need it in matchups like this where the enemy is just going to tie bringer you constantly. It's going to keep you low, and it's going to be very bad for you because you're going to be behind on CS and you're also going to be behind on XP, which is a really big problem for a hero like Pudge, who definitely needs that XP going and needs to have some kind of a lead, because then he's not going to be performing too well, because you need more levels in the rot to be able to farm. And then you just hunt the runes, and if you get a really good rune like a haste rune, you can definitely make a really easy rotation and try to get yourself some flesh heaps. And once you have your matchup analyzed, so from the mid lane you analyze the mid laner and you try and counter him with your items as best as possible, then you start looking at the rest of the team as a whole and what are your biggest problems. In this game they have a PL, so I definitely need to go for the Aghanim Scepter or for a Radiance. At first I felt like I was going to go for a Radiance if I could get it at a decent enough timing, but I realized that I was going to need a lot more stats to be able to sustain my rot. So I decided to transition over and get myself the Aghanim Scepter, which was going to overall do a lot better for me than the Radiance, and I could eventually pick up the Radiance if the game went long enough. And that's exactly what happened. I ended up going for the Scepter, and then I went for the Blade Mail. So some people might think, why would you go for an item like Blade Mail? Well, between Rot and Blade Mail, they really don't want to be fighting a hero like Pudge, because Rot and Blade Mail, that is so much damage going back their way and makes me a little bit tankier. And this is a game where I'm practically playing from behind, so you can get cheap items like Blade Mail to maximize your damage efficiency overall in the fights. Then I ended up going for a Heart of Tarask. So Pudge does damage based on his HP, based on his ultimate. So the Heart of Tarask was overall going to help me sustain through the fights, give me more strength and overall HP, so it would be a lot harder to kill me and essentially be a second tank, as if I can live through the fights longer, I will have Rot activated for longer, so equals more damage done per second. Then I ended up going for the Bloodstone, because I figured if I'm going to be getting hit by 1,000 illusions and all I need to do is get a dismember off, click Bloodstone and click my Rot, it's going to be incredibly hard for the enemy team to kill me. They don't have burst damage, they have a lot of sustained damage and a lot of damage mitigation, so I need to be able to sustain in the fights, and an item like Bloodstone in a game like this is very, very important, and it's something a lot of Pudge players I see don't end up picking up as much, and I really don't understand why, because if you're going for the Aghanim Scepter or the Radiance build, getting Bloodstone is only natural because you're going to be sustaining so much during the fights that it's going to be really, really hard to kill. It does kind of the same effect as Leshrac when he gets Bloodstone. If he has his ultimate activated, it's really hard to kill him just because he's spell life stealing away from everything, and it's pretty much the way to go for you to sustain. Then after the Bloodstone, I decided to go back for the Radiance so I can get even more spell life steal and be even tankier and more sustainable. You could argue I could have gone for a BKB, but this game I was just that big tank in the front line. BKB was not going to get me done too much. It would get me away from a couple of things, maybe the Mana Burn, a little bit of the Oracle spells, some of the Darkseer stuff, and maybe Torrent Storm, but it wasn't that big of a deal for me to deal with, so I decided to go for more overall raw damage and more spell lifesteal. That was kind of the play for me. If I could be this immortal Pudge, that was definitely going to benefit my team a lot more and would allow my Wind Ranger to get the pickoffs. And I was very surprised to see this matchup going towards our favor. It wasn't going good for us early on because the Wind Ranger is single target, but she managed to pull this game together and able to kill the Phantom Lancer a lot of times, which was very surprising to me. That proves to you how strong Wind Ranger is in the current meta, and her itemization was honestly pretty flawless. And then once the tier 5 neutral items came in, I went for the Giant's Ring. So there was two options for me. I could have gone for the Apex, which would give me overall a ton of strength, or I could go for an item like the Giant's Ring, which does damage based on my strength as well. I'm a strength hero, so it was only natural, and the big Pudge, you definitely can't mess around with it. It is so much damage consistently. Every time you're moving, you're doing so much damage with your Rot activated, and I'm an almost 6,000 HP Pudge, so I essentially became unkillable based on my item item build. Even though I didn't have really that much flesh heaps, I've seen a lot of Pudge players with 30, 40 flesh heaps before 30 minutes on a snowballing game. This game, I didn't make it to those thresholds. I wasn't this 9,000 HP Pudge running around. If I would have been, this game would have ended a lot faster, but with the really bad start that I had and overall lack of impact, it was all down to itemization to keep myself from practically being a useless support. That's what I ended up going for, and we got ourselves the win. And on a game like this, you really don't depend too much on the hook. I got a couple hooks here and there on the supports, which landed us the kill, which were very important, but it's the type of game when you have a bunch of PL illusions and a bunch of things going on and illusions from the Darkseer, where your hook isn't really the target. The target is to have Rot and Dismember with your Bloodstone to make you absolutely immortal, and the enemy team won't be able to kill you. So this itemization to me was pretty much the standard for Pudge on a game like this. If all you need to do is sustain and your team does enough damage, this is definitely the way to go. And the amount of damage you get from Dismember by having the heart and the flesh heaps going and the Giant's Ring, it is so much damage on Dismember that practically whoever you go for, you're pretty much gonna kill. Hopefully you guys learned a thing or two about this guide. Itemization is something very important in Dota, sometimes more than the playstyle itself. If you build correctly, you can definitely be punished a lot less. And on a game like this, a lot of people would have wanted me to go Blink Dagger. There's really nothing that Blink Dagger will provide for me in a game like this. Sure, I can jump the Oracle in the backline and get rid of him, but I can't really jump the Abaddon and kill him quickly. I can't jump the Kunkka, and I can't jump the Darkseer because they're all really tanky heroes. I'm not going to be able to get rid of them quickly. So for me, just to sustain in the fights and not really worry too much about initiation, I also had an axe, so he was pretty much the Blink Dagger buyer. He had the initiation down. It wasn't really my job. My job was just to be that big beefy tank and protect my backline and not to allow them to reach my backline. That was pretty much the goal, and I got it done. This game was definitely very tough to win, but I feel like with the items I chose and the decisions I made to buy these items definitely gave us a big advantage in the game and definitely got us the win. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. A like would be much appreciated, and if you guys want to see some more itemization guides on specific heroes, then definitely let me know. I know you guys are big Lone Druid and Invoker fans, so definitely let me know in the comments if you guys want to see any of those heroes and me to do a breakdown on one of my games on why I chose certain items and different builds you guys could go for, whether you're playing from behind or you're ahead. I would definitely like to know. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.